This is Steve from P and P News, and I've got Mr. Damon Jones, Chief Jones here. Y'all probably seen him on my channel before if you're not new here. Today, I invited him to talk about the video you saw from Bonkai channel, and I may trash this name, but Itawamba County Sheriff, the Tyrant alert video, and I'll put links to those videos down in the bottom, and also I will put link to Damon Jones channel, Chief, so y'all can find him. And I've done a couple of videos and I've made comments, so I think everybody kind of knows for what I feel about this. And I invited Mr. Jones, Chief Jones, because I wanted to see the law enforcement side of it. And he was in law enforcement for many years. I think we've gone through his credentials a few times on other videos, so I'm not going to go through all that unless he wants to put that in there. That's okay. But he's well qualified to be commenting on this. So Damon Jones, Chief. I'm just going to call you Chief, man, because that's what I'm used to. So you've seen the video. You know what I have to say about it. So what do you think?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I've done every law enforcement job you can do, and a lot of law enforcement jobs that people don't even know exist throughout the entire United States. So I've served on the city, county, state, and national level. I've served as a U.S. Marshal, Texas Ranger, retired Chief of Police, retired Chief Deputy Constable, and served in 5 different states. So I not only have a working knowledge and expanded by going to so many states and so many people and so many different kind of diverse communities and diversity training, which I didn't need because I was already diverse. It turns out I could have taught the class. But anyway, I've learned about people's culture. I've learned about traditions, customs and usage, and so forth. Now, I think this man got a raw deal over and over. I think they violated the Constitution numerous times. For whatever reason, sometimes cops actually know what the Constitution says, but they haven't been taught how to apply it correctly. They've been mistaught. Some of them are just, quote, good old boys from the neighborhood or from the county, and they were raised up there, and they know everybody and everybody knows them, and so they think that their little badge on their chest, their little gun on their side says, I say it and you jump. That ain't how it works. Government has a limited scope. It's a circle. Everything that's in that circle is their power, their authority, and their directives we the people gave them. We told them absolute things you are to do, and we told them absolute things you are not to do. Okay? You don't get to come question me and ask me who I am, where I'm coming from, what I'm going, what I'm doing. You don't get to do that in a lawful manner, okay? Because if you come out with your badge and gun and your police card, and you bring especially more people with you, then I feel threatened and I feel intimidated. And I feel coerced to have to tell you things that I don't have a legal duty or right to tell you. Okay, so I feel compelled. That's why they do it. It's a show of force. I've got the uniform. I've got the badge. I got the cop cars. I got radios. I've got more people I'm calling in. So it appears that the deck is stacked against me. Now, fortunately, the Constitution and the Founding Fathers said, no, we do things individually and collectively, either way, and or. So any man has a right or woman to go for any place they want to go and videotape anything they can see with their eyeballs. Law enforcement does not have a right to come question you unless you've done something that's articulable, reasonable suspicion that you have already, you are now, or about to commit a crime. Okay? So if if some business, even if it's the police station, some secretary or some janitor in there says, hey, somebody's working around the building, you guys better check it out. Or some good Samaritan calls on the phone and says, hey, I seen somebody out there across the street pacing back and forth around the police department. Okay, well, they can look out the window and watch you. Yeah, technically, they could come by and make what's called an inquiry, a reasonable inquiry. Hey, who are you and what are you doing? It's more, the courts have said it's more in the attitude. You know, are you a friendly cop saying, hey guy, who are you and what's up? And if the guy says, oh, I'm now don't lie, because they'll get you on that for sure. So if you say, well, I'm just a guy and I'm just standing around killing time, then, and you say that's all I got to say, dang, that's the end of it. But if he comes up and presses on you, no, you're going to tell me who you are, and you're going to tell me what you're doing, where you're coming from, what you're going, where you're going, no, then that is abuse of power. That's abuse of authority. He doesn't have that, okay? Now, if you're wearing a trench coat and it's 100 degrees outside, we know nobody in their right mind wears a trench coat when it's 100 degrees outside. However, it's legal. It's lawful. Now, that may be a red flag that says, hey, me, I'm this cop. I better call the office and say, hey, I'm going to be 1022 with this guy out here for a while. I'm going to sit in my police car. I'm going to sit on top of a building. I'm going to get my binoculars, and I'm going to watch him. I'm going to see what he does. Okay? So that's what I get paid for. I'm an observer. I'm observant. If he does something wrong, okay, it's on like Donkey Kong. But if he doesn't, and he's just a weirdo or a character, he likes to carry around his video equipment and videotape me, the police station, I can be pissed off, and I can say, hey, I don't want to be on the evening news. I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want to be no YouTube hero or zero or whatever. Well, that's just too bad. I better get a new damn job, because I'm the servant. You pay my salary, okay? So that's where I'm stuck. But in this particular county, I looked up a lot of information. Just so we'll know about this county, it's in the northern part of Mississippi, and the population is estimated at this particular time to be 22,700. Okay, there's a lot of small towns that have that population, but 22,770 people, and it's a little over 500 square miles big. Well, that's a decent sized county and a low population. Okay, the next thing, the racial makeup is 92.47 white. So just say 92.5% white, 6.5% black. It takes the other 1% to make up Hispanic, Native American, or of two races or more. So you basically have a town that's got two races, and one's a super majority, 92.5% white. Okay, and that in of itself doesn't necessarily mean anything, but when you get on down and you start looking at people that are notable people from that area, you find John E. Rankin. John E. Rankin was a 16-term congressman. He went to Congress in 1920, and he stayed there until 1952. And he helped set up the Tennessee Valley Authority. He worked on the New Deal with Franklin Roosevelt, and he was a big supporter of racial segregation and white supremacy. So the people in that area that elected him to Congress 16 times were very into racial segregation, white supremacy. You say, what does that have to do with it? It speaks to your attitude, because the police are hired out of the general population. So if the general population have a racist attitude or a white supremacy attitude, or that's embedded, then you're going to get those kind of cops on the job. Well, you say, what does that have to do with it? Well, they have flawed thinking. They have flawed ideas. They're not fair to begin with. So if you're not fair here, how can you be fair here? So I started looking up these things and looking at, in fact, when they had the in 1944, when they had the Port Chicago disaster with the U.S. Navy, the Navy asked Congress to give $5,000 to each service member's family that was a victim of the Port Chicago disaster. He was all for it. But once he found out the majority of the soldiers were black, he said, let's lower the money to $2,000 from $5,000. Like their life was worth less because they were black, okay? And so Congress settled on $3,000. And he agreed to be a supporter of the GI Bill, but he wanted it to be a different one for black people versus white people. And he wanted it to work different with historically black colleges. And he wanted internment for all Japanese people during World War II. So I'm just saying, in this vicinity, in this county, these people supported this kind of man to go to Congress for them and support their beliefs. And I found in my years of training and experience, every time that I found a county that had to do with either white supremacy or black supremacy. That's a term you don't hardly hear. But I've been in counties where they had a black supremacy, like the black people was the supermajority and they were oppressing white people, okay? It's happened in Hispanic communities against black people or white people. The point I'm saying is, when you get that mindset that you're on a racial thing, then you get this empowered, like you have some God power on top of everything else. And we tell you what to do and you just do it. And if you don't do it, you get a pop charge. Pissing off the police. Yeah, all old cops will tell you, hey, don't mess around and pop yourself. Get a pissing off the police charge. Now, these days they call it butt hurt. But
or contempt of cop.
Yeah.
I like that one. I hadn't heard that one before, Pop.
Yeah.
Pissing off the police.
Yeah. So when you piss off the police, contempt of cop, butt hurt, ego, damage control is knee-jerk reaction. I'm going to strangle you one way or another. How I'm going to do this, I'm going to cuff you. I'm going to take away your freedom and liberty. I'm going to scare the hell out of you. I'm going to sweat you. I'm going to put you in the dungeon. Okay, so you got to call your people to try and get out. You got to convince some judge or whatever to give you a bail. Then you got to come up with the bail. Bail money you never get back. That's how the bail bondsman lives. So they put
whether you're guilty or not, it's going to cost you money.
Yeah. So there used to be cops, and I tell them, don't talk like this. I tell them, don't they say, listen, Mr. Bo Winkle down here is really pissed me off, and we're going to put him in jail. Well, so you're putting him in jail because he pissed you off. Where's that in the law book? It ain't, but he ain't going to beat the ride to jail. He's going to get out tomorrow, but he ain't beating the ride to jail. I said, so what you're telling me is you are going to abuse your office. You're going to kidnap this man under the name of your lawful office. You're going to kidnap him. And then you're going to transport him to a dungeon because he pissed you off.
And that's what happened here.
Right,
exactly.
Right. So these, and see, people forget the office of sheriff ain't like being a cop. The office of sheriff, they have a set of duties and responsibilities, and they're in the actual Constitution.
Right.
They owe their duty and their respect to the people that vote. the people that live there and the people that come there to visit and pass through. They have a fiduciary responsibility to guarantee their safety. They failed in their fiduciary responsibility to this man to see that he was safe and secure as part of the public, an individual member of the public. They failed in that. Okay, not only did they do that, but they crossed the line and they went into this man's sovereign territory and they invaded him, threatened him, and arrested. It's a POP charge, a contempt of cop charge. And I don't know when, but you can count on it. I'm going there. I can't tell you what date, but I'm going. Whether it's with some other auditors or me with a backup. And don't put it past me to go flying into the sheriff's office and say, I want to see the sheriff. I make a lawful demand to see the sheriff. He's the chief law enforcement officer of the county. I got credentials. I know law people across the country from here up to the White House. I know cops, a lot of cops in very powerful places, and I know a lot of state and federal judges. I want to see the sheriff. I want to know if you know what's going on down here and if you condone this, or you're going to fire people and you're going to set a new attitude in this county. What the hell are you going to do about this? This is wrong, you know? And so if you want to tell me you got so many years of experience, fine, I got 40. Okay, you got 40 years of experience. Have you worked as a U.S. Marshal, a Texas Ranger? Have you worked in 5 different states? Have you commanded, have you retired successfully from 2 of your law enforcement jobs at the top of your game? No, but I have. And I said, I've worked with some of the best peace officers in the world. My reputation is fantastic. I can go anywhere, do anything I want to. And I've called sheriffs and constables and marshals because they're elected. And they're a lot different than a chief of police, where they're appointed by the city council. So they just got to make that 5 or 6 or 9 men or women happy. So long as they make them happy, they got their job no matter what. But when you're the sheriff or constable, you ain't going to be around next election time. You're around, you know. Don't put it past me to move my fat ass there and run for sheriff and get elected, because I might do it, you know.
Well, I think we can be pretty well guaranteed that this police, I was going to say chief, he's not, he's the sheriff, knows how his people are acting. That guy had no, what is Johnson? It didn't bother him a bit. He didn't flinch. He didn't care. He just did it like that's normal, everyday thing. This guy didn't kiss my ass. I'm going to put you in jail. And I'm going to charge you with a false charge just to show you I can, you know? And from what I'm hearing, though, this Johnson family is pretty well in control of the county. And I think Lee County, I believe, is next door. And I believe the Johnsons are well entrenched over there. And I know of at least one, so I'm not sure how entrenched they are, but there's at least one in either the police department or the sheriff's department over there. So I know they're working at a county level for the sheriff's department. We've got them in the local administrations in the area. From what I understand, they run that county. But that's just what I'm hearing from some of the people that live in the area that have got contacted me.
Well, I'll tell you what, it wouldn't serve no purpose for me to name any names right at this point, but I might at some later date.
Yeah. Well, we got some more information I'm not talking about either. So,
but there was a particular county in Florida, in a specific area of the county, that was kind of chaotic and got into a lot of racial issues. Well, the racial issues just kind of pulled the veil back, where I could see that not only were some of these people bigoted against people's race, some of it also had to do with their religion, and then it had to do with where on the food chain are you economically? Are you pulling down $100,000 a year or more or less? You know, people that pulled down $100,000 or any more in that county, they had a tremendous amount of say. People that was, you know, 80,000, they had lesser say. When you was at 50,000 or less, you didn't exist. Okay, you was considered 50,000 or less, you was low income. Well, anyway, guess what? I helped them get their minds right because I called my friends over at the Civil Rights Division over at the United States Department of Justice. And I got some people from Tallahassee and I got some people from the feds in there, and they helped turn their mind around.
Well, we are going to do what we can to turn Mississippi around, starting with this county.
Oh, yes. Well, I'll tell you what, I had been asked by a couple of different people to go to work over there probably 10 or 12 years ago. And of course, the amount of money that they paid that time for, you know, and I would have been getting a decent job in law enforcement, at least a lieutenant or higher, okay? Lieutenant through major. So I'd either been the chief deputy or I'd have been a road lieutenant or captain or something like that in investigations or whatever. And even that high up, and with all my experience, the money that they maxed out at, I couldn't support myself. Okay. And even if I could have, it was so beneath my experience and my qualifications. It'd have been like taking Chinese change. I mean, they'd have been paying me 20 cents on the dollar. And I said, I just can't do it. Well, I started looking around and I said, what in the world's going on? So I started talking to people. I got to know people in Mississippi. And I drove through there a lot between Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. I was through there constantly, probably 8 or 10 times a year, coming or going. And sometimes I stayed there for 2 or 3 days talking to people. I rode with the cops around there. I did some other things there. And they said, look, that's one of the reasons that we got so much corruption going on at the moment is because for other cops at minimum or at 30,000 a year for entry level. That's entry level. And people like you were at 75 to 90,000 a year. I said, right. They said, well, look at it this way. You got a good mind and you're a fair and square guy, Chief Jones, but if you're up in 75 or 80,000 and you did come over here for 20,000 or 25,000, like you would make at a Burger King or a McDonald's for burgers, and you're out here making life and death decisions, you see how your values might go with the amount of money you get. And said, so these people, what they do is, whether it's, they got a lot of dog fighting over there, you know, where they put these pit bulls to each other. Yeah. And they still got a lot of cockfights over there where the cocks fight each other. Okay, don't get that mixed up. Anyway, these are birds. So, and they still do a lot of still a lot of backroom juke joint gambling like they did back in the 60s and 70s. Moonshine is still crazy big over there. It's like their clock stopped in 1960 in a lot of ways there. Okay, they have constables the same as Texas and Alabama and Louisiana. They got constables, but even their constables, I think they lowered it to where they get $5,000 a year annually, and they get a car and 2 uniforms. That's it. If they buy their own gas and everything else. So the way they make money is putting people in jail sometimes, because what they do is they'll say an arrest is $10 or $12. If they write a ticket and say it's a $90 ticket or a $100 ticket, they may get $20 or $18 on these tickets. So that's how they make their living, is on arrest. Now these deputies that was working there, they're working on a hourly or a salary basis, no matter how many people they arrest. But they kind of like to sling their authority around. But that's abuse of power. I mean, when I watched that, my little antennas went doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I said, I see the Justice Department coming in there and cleaning their clock. And
well, I bet if we could research it deep enough, we would find a lot of cases like this one.
Oh yeah. You know, so yeah, I'm making sure I take backup, and I'm making sure I've got something set up with a bail bondsman when I go.
Yeah.
Me being a retired chief of police,
Yeah.
and deputy constable, and everything I've done, still don't mean that they're not going to gang up when I go and arrest me.
Now, for any auditors that might want to go there, make sure you got contacts there that can help get you out of jail, and you got money.
Yes, yes. As a rule, I've talked to a lot of auditors, and most of them that get in things where they're likely to get arrested. They either have on, not necessarily on their person, but their backup person or their husband or wife or somebody's sitting on $2,500, because most of the things they would get a bond for would be in the $20,000 or less dollars. It'd be ROR, release on recognizance, or they'd give them a $500 or $1,000 cash bond. If it's cash bond, you can pay it in and get your money back when you show up in court. So always remember, ask for a cash bond or a bond, because they can set a bond either way. They can say $1,000 cash bond or a $10,000 bond. You know, that way you can pay cash or get a bondsman, because if you can get up the money, you get your money back. If you pay a bondsman, it's gone. But yeah, I have someone that is guaranteed, if I go there, he's got the money, that he'll put $5,000 in my hand for either a $5,000 cash bond, or if it's $50,000 to pay to a bondsman if I'll go. He's willing to put up the money for me to go. He ain't paying my travels there or back or nothing. And I'm like everybody else, I gotta live on a budget. So if you want me to go, send me some money you got there so I can go. Okay? You know, it takes time and fuel and effort. So if you want to send me there, I'll go. And I got a guy that'll put up my bond money that I can leave with my wife or some other good man or woman that can bail me out if I go to jail. And of course, I have to go back and go to court. Of course, I know how to defend myself pretty well.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to end the recording now, and then we can finish talking. I think we covered everything good enough.
Good.
Okay, it's recording.
Okay, well, you never know when I might go up there myself. You never know when you might go or other people might go. They never know. I guess they're going to have to do the old saying, they're going to have to grow eyes out of their asshole. Because they never know when we might be there.
That's right. They never know.
Never know. Hey, keep a lookout.
Yeah. Be careful of how you act. It might be one of us.
Yeah, it might be one of us, and you just don't know.
That's right. Because there's more to just standing around videoing. There's other things we can do to get them to act stupid.
Oh yes, yes. They have their bag of tricks, and we have our bag of tricks.
That's right. But we're not going to tell you what those bag of tricks are.
No. Houdini, don't tell.
Yeah, you have to wait for the video.
Yeah. Well, you have to let the video come out to find out how it happened.
Yeah, that's right. To be continued. All right, I'm going to end this.